every year as your chickens, you know, begin to lay throughout the whole year, right? As we get to this point in time, your chickens get wore out, right? They get worn out from the laying season. You might see broken feathers, or, you know, shaggier feathers, we'll say, and their feathers just simply get wore out from all the eggs they've laid throughout the year, and the elements and things they've just experienced throughout the whole season. I mean, if you're not aware, eggs are full of protein, right? And so their bodies are using that protein and that they're consuming to put out the eggs. And well, feathers are also made of protein, so their feathers wind up getting damaged throughout the season, right? And as that goes on, this time of year they need to molt. You know, I don't know, you know, birds molt, pretty much all birds molt. Chickens are no different, and this is their molting season per se. You know, sometimes they might molt at a different time. Some of ours have molted earlier, some are molting later, some haven't molted yet. Like our youngest hens that are a year and a half old at this point, almost, they're getting ready to get their first molt. Okay, this will be the first time they've molted, and a few of them haven't even molted yet, and some are looking shaggy, and some of our older hens have molted or are molting right now. Okay, and then some have already molted and gotten most of their feathers back, which can take, or all their feathers back, and look really good. And but this whole molting process can take, you know, up to 2 months, you know, or more. It shouldn't always take that long, honestly, but it can take some more time depending on how hard they molt and how fast they can recover. But it shouldn't take more than 2 months, truthfully. But it's a long, hard, stressful process for them. As you see the look on their faces when they are molting, they look sad, just not happy. Total difference looking at Tootie right here, and then looking at Layla or looking at Sanam over there. You know, Tootie's a happy chicken most of the time, but she's not happy that she's molting. This is very painful to regrow feathers. You know, very painful. And because it can be so painful and stressful on them, I mean, if you think, honestly, like, think of somebody, you know, trying to shove a pin underneath your skin, like a little sewing pin, you know what I mean, sewing needle, trying to shove it underneath your skin to poke it out and push it through. That's what's going on pretty much every time you see a feather trying to come through their skin, which there's quite a few feathers there, right? And so some molt harder than others, but they all have those feathers trying to come through. And it's very painful and very stressful for them. And if you handle your chickens much, they're not going to want to be handled very often, because it's going to press on that, and you can imagine that's not going to be very comfortable. Now, there are things you can do to help them through this process to make it less stressful for them, to help their feathers grow faster, right? To help them just recover and be happier quicker. I mean, they need their food, right? And as Layla's going to show you there, it's very important. You know, no matter what it is, they need their food. Always got to have that layer ration, their daily ration. And they always need that, and they always need their water. You know, they're always going to need the good fresh water out there. Those things never change. They need that every day, no matter what. But there are some ideas out there that people have that maybe you need to add protein to their diet. Okay, probably could. Probably, maybe even should. Okay, I'll say should. You should. We actually did not add protein to their diet last year for the first time ever. We just never got around to buying what we needed to buy, and that was kind of our fault. But also, it wasn't 100% necessary. They did really good without it. What we normally buy would be some mealworms or black soldier fly larvae. Okay, this is the typical answer that you're going to get everybody telling you to buy these things when you want to add protein to their diet. And that's honestly the best thing you can buy. It's, you know, 35 to 50% protein and added calcium. There is some calcium that is needed from their feathers, but it's not the most important. Protein is the biggest thing. So yes, that's the best thing you can do to add protein. But I want you to understand what you're talking about when you're talking about adding protein to their diet, because I'm part of some chicken groups on Facebook, and you see a whole lot of just bad information, okay, bad ideas, or things that aren't truly completely thought out. I don't say misinformation or disinformation. We ain't playing that political game, right? We're just talking about appropriate ideas and a way to think about it that will help put it into perspective for you. As we talked about, their feed is super important, and their feed is made up of, you know, several things. You know, ours is New Country Organics classic grind layer feed. Okay, so it's soy free, but it's got corn in it, and it's also got cracked peas, alfalfa meal, and just all the basic stuff. You know, honestly, it's probably some ground up oats or something like that, because it's New Country Organics. It's a little different than others, but there's no soy in it. Soy is the main protein that you're gonna get in the average chicken feed. We just go soy free. While the protein from your layer feed is good, that's fine. The average layer feed is 16% protein. That New Country is 17% protein. Like my dad's chickens, he feeds them a 20% protein. Okay, that's about as high as you can get and as high as you want to go for a layer feed. Personally, that's a little questionable for me, but 20 is okay in situations. It'll be fine. But if you're looking to add protein, I've seen people talk about just giving them scratch grains. You know, just give them some scratch for in the molt season. Scratch doesn't add protein to their diet. Okay, let's just be very clear about that. Is that if you're looking to add protein to their diet, you need to feed them something that is a higher protein content than their layer feed. These chickens are only going to eat so much feed. Like they're only going to eat so much food in general, no matter what it is, whether it's grass and stuff out here in the yard, or whether it's their feed, or whether it's a treat that you give them. They're only eating so much food. It doesn't change. Their appetite does not change. So if you're going to talk about giving them scratch feed, cracked corn, or any other thing like that, any other kind of chicken treat, you got to look at the protein content inside of that chicken treat, which they all tell you, whether it's a bag that's from Happy Hens or something, whatever it is, or whether it's another bag of black oil sunflower seeds, or whether it's a bag of, you know, feed additive or mealworms. They all tell you the percentage of protein. Every single one of them do. And so if your feed is 16% protein, you got to feed them something higher than 16% to add protein, right? Cracked corn will not do it. It's, you know, 9 or 10%. Scratch feed will not do it. It's probably 9 to 12%. It simply won't do it. There are brands out there that provide a feather fixer blend of feed. Okay, that's typically 20 to 22%. I think. I'm not certain about that. I think it's typically what it is. You can find you know, grower feed, your starter grower feed that's 20 to 22% feed. Now, if you get starter feed, you got to remember, starter feed is going to be really fine ground, because that's for baby chicks. They get a grower, that's for somebody that's trying to grow out, you know, broilers or meat birds. So that might be a little bit thicker or coarser grind, and so easier for them to eat. They won't eat the powder for the most part, okay, unless you soak it. If you soak it and get it, you know, swelled up a little bit, they might go ahead and eat it. But, you know, you gotta remember, starter is just gonna be really ground up fine. It's not really going to give your chickens much that they want to eat on. A lot of people gonna give black oil sunflower seeds, which we give ours black oil sunflower seeds a handful of times a week, just for a treat, get them up and going in the mornings. I think they're 15% protein. You might find some that say they're a little higher. I think they're all 15% personally. So black oil sunflower seeds, while they're close to the same protein as your feed, they're not adding protein. Okay, so you got to remember, you got to add protein. Again, mealworms and dried soldier fly larvae, black soldier fly larvae is going to be your highest protein you're going to go give them. They're more expensive as well, right? You can buy the sunflower kernels. Sunflower kernels are, you know, they're shelled out, just no hull. You can buy those, and they'll be like a 20% or more protein. And I think chickens really love them. They're also not cheap. It's honestly, it's going to be similar to the price for mealworms and everything. So it may not be quite as bad, but I mean, if you think about it, the sunflower kernel's heavier than a mealworm. You can go buy like a 10 to 20 pound bag of it at Tractor Supply, and you're gonna pay like $60 for I think a 20 pound bag. I think is what it is. I'm not certain because I haven't bought them, but it's not cheap, okay, for sunflower kernels. But some people, like my dad, even my dad will do this. They'll buy the catfish pellets, the fish pellets that you can find to feed your, like, fish in a pond, right? And so they're pelletized. I think they're 30-something% protein. I'm not sure what they're made out of. Okay, so because I've never bought them, so I'm not sure what they're made out of. Since you see we also use New Country Organics feed, you know that we try to pay attention to exactly what our chickens are eating. So I don't know what they are made out of, so I can't tell you of the quality or whatever they are. It's just not something that we do. Okay, it's not something we do. Some people will go as far as feeding cat food and dog food, dry or wet. Chickens will eat it. No, they will eat it. But again, I'm just not comfortable feeding my chickens dog food and cat food. Okay, I want to control what they're eating a little bit more, make sure it's cleaner, make sure I understand where it's come from, and so that's why we don't do it, and that's why we're actually very particular about even the mealworms or dried soldier fly larvae that we buy. Try not to buy any that's come from China. Okay, that's just our preference. We've done it before, plenty of times before, fed it to them, and they're all still here. Right? We just try to control some things like that. Other people will also feed their chickens sardines or tuna. Plenty of protein there. Plenty of protein there. Just be aware. One thing you gotta be aware of as well is if all your chickens are molting and there's no eggs being laid, no problem. Okay. We have up to 4 chickens still laying. Right now only 2 lay today, but up to 4 that could still be laying. So what you're feeding these birds is coming out in their eggs, right? So you got to remember that it can affect the flavor of the eggs. If you feed them a lot of fish, a lot of tuna, a lot of sardines, something like that, it could very easily come out in their eggs and their yolks, and so like you could have fishy tasting eggs. If you like fish and eggs, hey, by all means, have at it. I don't want tuna and eggs for breakfast. Okay, gotta be honest with you. But so you have to remember that as well. That if you got chickens that are laying, what comes out, what goes in will come out. Okay, and so you gotta understand maybe you don't want that. So those are things you can do though to help your chickens get through this stressful process. The faster the better. And honestly, the faster they get through it, the faster they can come to laying eggs again. And that's the ultimate goal for everybody. I would assume 90% of the people, at least, who are raising backyard chickens, you want some more eggs, right? And while the light and the weather is not going to help you out, get them through their molt process in a quick manner and a healthy manner will help you out. So thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate it. My name is Jason. This is Art of Creation Homestead. We love y'all. God bless you and goodbye.